Hello.
Hey,
Hi,
Carl.
Kwena.
How are you?
I'm good, good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm good.
I'm good, I'm good. I'm glad it didn't even take us 10 seconds to connect.
That's
I,
that's because we prepared. Tell the guests we actually had a trial run yesterday. Not to say that I'm technologically advanced.
no, actually, I did. I did tell them that we had a test run because after what happened last week, Sunday, where I struggled to connect with my guest for almost an
Sure.
hour. So you can imagine for some people, it can be quite, discouraging. So I did
Mm,
apologize in the beginning, and then I did explain that from now on, going forward with every guest, I'm going to have a test run just to make sure that we get the basics right. You know?
yeah, no, preparation is everything.
Yeah, that's true. But otherwise, thanks so much for the time, for making the time to be here so that we can have a heart-to-heart conversation. I meant to set up outside, just 30 minutes before. I was like outside and I was trying to set up because it has a nice view and everything and the fresh air. But the problem is the wind. It's just too
Yeah,
much.
I'm also sitting strategically because I have the girls in the house, so I had to come outside just to make sure that they're not disturbing me. I was ho also hoping for a good view, but yo, it's so hot this
Is
side of
it?
town. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my niece in the house, so I thought, you know what, let me just set up outside and because it's a mess in the house and like she's making a lot of noise. So that's why I wanted to set up outside so that, I can be able to hear. But because of the wind, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to struggle to hear each other. So let me rather go.
Yeah.
And then I told the helper and I was like, you know what, please make sure she doesn't come in because she's going to disturb me. You
No,
know?
I also have my husband playing daddy daycare.
Ah, okay. That's nice. Then it means we're good. It means we're good to go. We're good to go.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Like I just want to start off by saying that, after I shared that poster of us having this conversation on Sunday on my Facebook and on my WhatsApp, I had people be like, you know what, Charles, you are rolling with the big dogs.
You know what, now we must
Um,
disclose. We must disclose since this is heart to heart, and we shouldn't hold anything back that you and I are actually related.
yeah.
So it's not a professional relationship.
Yeah, so they're like, hey man, you're sleeping with the big dogs. I'm like, hey, you know how it is, you know how we do it. I've got friends and family in high places.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, so I, this platform is as I title it, heart to heart conversation. It's where we
Yeah.
have very frank and honest and truthful conversation. As you know that
Mm.
most of what social media is out there, most of what life is out there is just mostly not true. It's like we're just living in this illusion we called life, but it's not
Mm.
really what it is. So I think
True.
having these kind of conversations, for me, perhaps it can be sort of a reminder to people out there that you know what, we are people at the end of the day, and we have some
Mm.
real issues that we need to be discussing and focusing on. So I don't know, perhaps maybe if people have this fear. Maybe we've got this fear as a society that if we talk about these things, then maybe
Mm.
they are going to bring up things that we don't want, and
Yeah.
it is perhaps going to change how we do things as a society, how we live our lives. So I don't know if it's because of that fear from us as people to discussing these things. I mean, that we need to talk. There's family to talk about. There's parenting. There's relationships. There's marriage. There's finances, and there's national
Yeah.
issues. But people would rather not focus on those things and just do things that really don't make much difference in our lives. So I don't know. Is it fear? What is it? What do you think can be the issue of people not wanting to be able to have these frank conversations?
It's just because, people want to put on a facade, and live almost like a fake life, and I always, a big thing for me is like people living beyond their means, people living a life that they can't afford and not being real with what they really have and what they're able to do, um and maybe it's the influence of social media, maybe it's the peer pressure of friends, maybe different pressures of life, but I think people are just generally not honest, and
And
we just need to learn to be honest with ourselves and be real with ourselves about who we are as a people, where we come from, and what we have, um the more honest we are, the more open we'll be, with our lives and what life is all about.
yeah, yeah, true. So, do you think it's an issue of social media influencing people to do that or to be like that, or social media has just maybe exposed that about ourselves, that we are just not true, we're not living from an honest and truthful position of life? Or is it that we were, but then with the introduction of social media, it then influenced us to become like that? Which is which? Or you think it's just both?
I think it's an influence, and it's just the way that people are responding to social media, because we can't take away social media, but it's just how you allow it to influence you as a person, how you
Mhm.
allow it to, uh, channel your thinking, or you know change your perception about things, so it's more of a response than anything that, people need to guard against, how you respond to what you see and how you respond to what other people are doing with their lives, so it's a question of managing our response of to what we see and what we hear from social media.
So what encourages you as Kwena to live more honestly and more openly and a more truthful type of lifestyle with yourself, your family and your friends? What encourages you to do that? Because people know that we're not really being honest with ourselves about so many things in our life, and yet still they don't take the steps to live more honestly. They still remain as they are. So what encourages you to live more of that kind of life?
Charles, I'm gonna hit right into it. Now, I mean, I was a teen mom. I had a baby when I was 17. And I have lived my life, with my children, raising my children, working hard regardless of, the status quo. I could have been just a statistic, but I've
Yeah.
really chosen to work hard and push myself against all odds, and it's because of who it's because of the experiences that I had in my life that I have those those experiences have taught me to be humble, and not to see myself other than anything else except for a human being. I mean, I always tell people that um being a director of Madinginye Incorporated, or, being a director of whatever, it's just one of the hats I wear. At the end of the day, I'm a mom first. I'm a
Hmm.
wife. I'm a daughter. I wear so many other hats that I treasure more than, being a managing director, and those things for me mean so much more than, the position that I hold. And it's things like, my children that keep me humble, my husband keeps me humble, just um, knowing who you are, besides what society may perceive. At the end of the day, I'm just a mom, I'm just a wife, and those are the roles that I honor more than anything, and that keeps me humble and truthful to myself.
Ah, that's really nice. So, like, someone once said to me that you can't build a life on a lie. no
Mm.
matter in which space. You can't build a life on a lie. So if that, to me, that means if we're not being really authentic to ourselves and with each other and the people around us, how do we build a life? You can't build a life, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, so I guess what I'm hearing from is exactly that. That because you, because of your children, you're a mother and you're a wife, and so you understand that if you're going to raise good kids, if you're going to build a good marriage with your husband, you can't do any of those things in the back end of a lie, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, bottom line, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, um, so a lot of people want to build their foundation on material things, and I- it's not real, you know what I mean? Like for me, raising good children means so much more than, driving a fancy car. I would rather have disciplined, loving children. I would rather have, be a good wife who's able to honor her husband. Those are the things that mean so much more to me than, just material things, and at the end of the day, I think we just need to determine what we live for and who we are about as a people. Are we about the money and
True.
the things, or are we
That's true.
about the bigger picture and living in a society where we are all doing our part for the greater good, you know what I mean? And whatever position you are in, what are you doing, to go the extra mile, to touch people's life, to influence people's lives, you know what I mean? And
Uh,
even in the
yeah, yeah.
positions that I hold, the question that I always ask myself is, Lord, why have you put me here, in the season? What is it that you want me to achieve in this position that you have placed me? And for me, that is more important than anything.
Yeah, yeah. Like you're a woman who's an
Yeah.
attorney and who's a managing
Mm,
director of your company. And
mm.
I thought to myself, how dare you? You like the audacity of, firstly, of choosing to be a lawyer and an attorney,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
not only that, but you went on to found your own company. Like,
yeah.
how dare you? But we'll come
Yo,
to that.
yo,
We'll come to that. We'll come to
yeah,
that. You will
yeah,
extrapolate some more as we go along. But like,
yeah.
I look at you now being the person that you are today, and I can't help but wonder, like, as you look back into your life when you were still young
Mm.
in your childhood, and was there traces in your childhood that, in retrospect, when you look at it and you be like, you know what? Now I get it. I get it why I used to say this or be like that or act this way. Now I get it because
Yeah,
where I am
yeah,
now, it makes sense. So are there things
yeah.
about your childhood when you look back where you can be able to say, you know what? That I think I know now. I think I know.
I mean, I love conversations like this because I can really talk about things I wouldn't normally talk about. Being an attorney, you always have to be mindful about what you say, and you're always expected to speak about legislation and on an intellectual
Yeah,
capacity, but the
yeah.
truth is, at the end of the day, I'm a woman, and I have emotions, and I would sometimes just like to engage on that emotional level, and I'm happy because this platform gives me exactly that. And when you say that, I'm distracted now because my daughter Zephaniah, clearly daddy's not doing a great job. Say hi, Zeph.
Hello. Hi.
And answering your question, I just want to, you see, this is the reality. There's no time to work or anything. I mean, ever since, and looking back, I was in matric, ne? and I had my
Yeah.
firstborn daughter Zoe, and I remember I would carry her and I would put my feet in cold water while studying for my matric exam. So this has been my life, doing life with my daughters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you a joke. My mom calls because I had Zoe when I was in matric, and I had
Yeah.
Zion in when I was doing my degree, and I had Zeph when I was doing my master's. So my mom calls them matric masters and matric degree and masters. So what I'm trying to say to all the women out there, it's possible, you can do it with the kids, being a wife and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to answer your question, even with having had Zoe at the age that I had her, and maybe many people would have thought, oh my God, it's the end of her. Little did I know that it was only the beginning of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
a bulk of who I am and how matured I am comes from that
Mm-hmm.
experience. I don't know if I would have been the woman that I am today had I not had Zoe at the age that I did, because
Mm-hmm.
I had to grow up very quickly. I had to learn to be a mom and mature and make decisions not only for myself but for someone else. And it really helped me to manage my life in a and take a direction that I wouldn't have taken had I not had her. So looking back, I'm so grateful I was a teen mom. And I'm not promoting being a teen mom. I'm just saying that I was one of the exceptions because I worked very hard. I dedicated myself to my children. I dedicated myself to schoolwork, and lucky for me, I got such an amazing husband, and
Mm-hmm.
everything just fell into place. So yeah, looking back, I'm so glad. I wouldn't change anything because it's really made me the woman that I am today.
Yeah, I guess, like, obviously, as you said, you can't promote teenage pregnancy, but sometimes we find ourselves in situations, and you know we make the most out of them. We try and find the best way to deal with them and navigate around them, and to make sure that
Yes,
you make the most of it. So I guess what you're saying is, it whatever your circumstances are,
yes,
don't despair. Try and find a way to manage them,
yes.
and you will
There's
definitely
always
get.
room. There's always room to rise. Like always room to rise.
Yeah.
There's power in a woman, and I'm not saying there's no power in men. I can only speak for a woman because I'm a woman myself.
Yeah.
But there's a power in a woman who falls and continues to rise, and that should be our ambition, that life will hit you, and life will hit us in different ways. Teenage pregnancy could have been the thing for me, but somebody else could go through something else. And the thing is to always look at, have ambition to rise and be better and do better, and always learn from your lessons, and just continue to improve.
So this you're not just saying this because you just want to encourage people and make them feel good, but this is something that is part of your life. You've had to deal with stuff in your life and experiences, and this is the attitude that you had with life, towards life and everything else.
I'm not telling you a story. I'm telling you my life.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me and anyone who's had an encounter with me, besides on a professional level, this is, the type of language I will be talking, because I know I've been there, I'm not
Hmm.
talking from a book, I'm talking from experience. I often tell people that, my life has been nothing short of a ministry, in itself, because if I can even start to tell you my life story, you'll think I'm reading out of a book or something. But I've
Yeah.
had experiences that have really, made me and the woman that I am, and who that have channeled the way that I currently think, and the way that I respond to situations.
Yeah. Like, there's this other, just a few days ago, I was talking to this guy. He's
Charles,
actually
can
from.
can I- can you excuse me? I want her dad to come and fetch her. I
No,
just
no
wanna
problem.
excuse myself.
Okay, no problem. All right, guys. Earlier on, I was just saying while we wait for Kwena to come back, I was just saying that there are people who feel that I should move these lives to 2 p.m. on Sundays because, like earlier in the morning, they're still busy with church, with family, and etc. etc. So I just want your input. Should I still keep them at 12 p.m. or should I move them to 2 p.m.? Okay, so that it can be more convenient for other people to be able to tune in and to watch as well because they want to be part of the show, they want to interact. So please let me know, guys, if you want me to move it to 2 p.m. on Sundays or should I keep it at 12 p.m. Cool. All right.
If you want, if you want free legal advice from the legal expert, move it to 2 p.m. That way more people have access, like you're saying, other people go to church and so forth. So in order to accommodate people, but obviously you'll determine that from the responses and your viewers, it will depend. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
But
that. Thanks for
none anyway, people make time for things they love the most.
that.
So
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of the time, those who want to watch the show will watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's correct. That's correct. But it will be nice, to hear what people say. It will be nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So as I was saying, a few days ago, I was talking to this guy. This guy is from, he's in Zambia, right? I
Hmm.
just befriended him over Facebook because,
Yeah.
he's got something good going as well. So he's one of the people that I'm going to have, sometime in the future. But like, he was like, what, I love this platform, I love what you're doing, and it's very great. And I said to him, I feel like we all have stories to tell. Our lives are a story. And so
Mm.
when we share those stories, and I know it sometimes puts us in very vulnerable positions, because people
Yes.
can judge you and say, ha, she
Mm.
did that, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's when we choose to be vulnerable in our truth that we can actually empower ourselves and also
Hmm.
empower others because we're learning from each other.
That's
So I
true.
think we should be able to tell each other stories. That's why I even
Mm.
asked you, are you saying this because you just want to encourage people, or this is your life, this is your story?
Mm, mm. No, this is my
Yeah.
story. I mean, and that's true because at the end of the day, people only see the end result, so they'll see you driving that nice car, living in that nice house, wearing nice clothes, and they think you were born like that. But truth is, people come from like nothing, zero to heroes. And, because people are on the outside, they're only able to see, and maybe this is why we judge each other according to materials, because we judge each other according to what we see. Um,
Hmm.
and only that, people will then, see and gauge how successful you are. But at the end of the day, we all come from somewhere, we all have a history, and yeah, like you're saying, we all have a story to tell.
Yeah. How did you get into law? Where did it all start? Is it something that you intentionally chose, or you
Hmm.
had no option? This was the only one available when you wanted to go to varsity? Was it something that you genuinely, passionately wanted to do? How did you get into it?
Um, so initially, I always wanted to study law. And I wanted to study law because growing up, I used to talk a lot, and people would say that, if you talk a lot, then it means that you should be a lawyer. Um, I don't even know if that is true because, growing up now and being in the field, I've realized that you actually do more listening than you do talking. Listening is such a big part of the job actually than the actual talking.
Hmm.
Nonetheless, I remember that time, like I said, I had Zoe and I went to Wits, I went to multiracial schools, and going into multiracial schools, I thought I would end up at Wits or like your UCTs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied there. I didn't qualify. I think I qualified at Wits, but they wanted me to do a 5-year program. But then at that time, I had Zoe. So I thought now I had to think not only for myself, but for my daughter as well. You see, things that have channeled. This is the channeling I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I then decided to apply last minute go Tefloop. And I remember when I was younger, I went to Tefloop with my mom. And when we got there, we saw the university. And being a snob, with inverted commas, people, being a snob, I then said to my mom, "Oh, I'll never go to an institution co-location." Little did I know that God would bring me exactly where I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I then applied last minute. Luckily, my grandmother knew people who knew people. I got into
Mm-hmm.
Tefloop, and going to Tefloop has been the best thing that has ever happened to me, in a sense that I met people that I wouldn't have ordinarily met if I had gone to an institution like WITS or UCT.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going there really changed my entire perspective of life. I
Mm-hmm.
met people that, till this day when I think about them, it humbles me. I'm a different person because I went to that institution. I met people who had nothing but had so much hope, and coming from a multiracial school and going to white schools, you almost have everything on a silver platter, and just being able to see things from a different side, was such a blessing for me, because I don't know if I would see life the way that I see it now.
Mm. No, that's true. That's true. I read this book once from this lady. I forgot the author. The name of the book is called It Was All a Dream. It Was All a Dream. She's an American author, and she talks about how young people are so excited by the idea of moving into the big cities because they think, hey, that's where I want to study, that's where I want to be, that's where it's happening. That's where I'm at least going to get, more opportunities than if I go to a smaller city or in a small town or something like that. And when they go there, they get really disappointed because
Mm,
and the kind of things they get involved into and the kind of people they get involved with and how the trajectory of their life after those experiences is it's something that leads to their demise. So when someone thinks of just it's interesting when you say that I just didn't want to be here, but you ended up
mm,
there and what you got from there was something of value than had
yes.
you perhaps been in a big city or something like that. So we should
Yeah.
not really take like those small beginnings for granted. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, just like, I always tell people, people are so hung up about which schools their children should go to. And I'm of the opinion that, you know, um, it's not really about the school. It's about, moral education, life education, those, and life lessons. Those are things that a school institution will never teach you, and those are things that I was able to learn from people that I was able to engage with, that were at Tefloop. That was an opportunity that I had because of the institution that I went to. That
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, and I don't know, maybe I'm being judgmental, but I'm just thinking if I had gone to another institution, maybe I wouldn't have gotten the chance to meet the kind of people I met when I was at the University of Limpopo. And I wouldn't take it. And now looking back, I totally take back those words that I said when I was young, because I was saying it from, I was young and naive and, probably stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I wouldn't take back going to Teflor, because it has molded me in ways that I wouldn't have been molded.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's very good to hear. So like when you look into your life in tertiary, right? Obviously you've had your own experiences then, and would you say that the kind of influence that you had with the people around you and the institution itself uh,
Yeah.
helped you to actually be more focused and more determined and more enthusiastic about your life? You say that the environment
So
in that.
so I had a different university experience than I would say other people, because
Mhm,
remember when I went to university, I had my eldest daughter. And
mhm,
because I was already a mom, even going into varsity, I was very focused. I remember when I had Zoe, my mom um, took leave for 3 months and she came home and she was so supportive. So was, my dad and my family in general. They were very supportive. But I remember my mom saying to me that, you know what, Gwena, I'm gonna look after your child, but I am looking after the child because I love you and I want you to be the best. But truth is, I won't do um for your child the way that you would do for your child. So go to school, be educated so that you are in a position to do the best for your child. And it's words like that that have carried me through. I remember, I mean, I've told the story time and time again. When I told my mom that I was pregnant with Zoe, she sent me an SMS and she was like, I love you. And it's those words have made me the woman that I am today. Those words that have pushed me not to give up on life, or give up on, wanting to be better or be the best. So I'm saying this because when I went into varsity, I had to be, fully conscious of what I was going to do because already I had a mouth to feed, I had somebody to look after. So I went in there focused. I remember I think I have one friend from varsity, and I think I only attended one bash because I was so focused. I wanted to study, I wanted to get that degree, and I wanted to honor my parents, for loving me, through it all. And the best honor that I could bring to my parents was, going into that institution and coming out with that degree, and that's exactly what I did.
yeah. As I'm listening to you right now, and where you come from and where you are, and it's so encouraging and so inspiring because in spite of the challenges that you faced as a woman and a young woman, you chose a different path for yourself. So I guess
Mm,
we all have that option of choosing different, you know,
yes,
because we can use our circumstances to make excuses for ourselves and say, this is
yes,
the reason why I can't do that or whatever. But
mm,
there is also another option. You can make
yes.
something of yourself in spite of those circumstances, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, the thing is, you sometimes you just have to, and this is what I was saying in the beginning, accepting your circumstances for what they are, being honest with yourself, to say this is the position that I'm in and how can I best move to the next step from where I am. So honesty is a big thing. I mean, if you don't have, you don't have, you know what I mean? And you need to know what you have and what you bring to the table and focus on that. I often tell people it's not like I'm the most intelligent person. I worked hard. I worked so hard, you don't even know. I remember, and I have such an intelligent brother, by the way. I wonder if he's watching, but I have such an intelligent brother. I remember when I was in primary, I would cry and he would teach me like schoolwork and everything. But, now when we look back, my brother and I, we always say that, even though I wasn't the most intelligent, but I learned the principle of hard work when I was younger because I wasn't as intelligent and because I had to apply myself in everything that I did. And, because he was intelligent, he didn't learn the principle of hard work until later on in his life. So what I'm trying to say is that hard work is the answer to everything. It doesn't matter the capacity that you have or the intellect that you have. If you put in the work, you will get results. And that's exactly what I did. Right through my life till this day, I am still working hard, still preparing for meetings, still reading. You know what I mean? I don't come up, I don't have all the answers, but I prepare. And I know that when you prepare, you'll never let yourself down.
Absolutely. That's
Mm,
interesting that you mention the issue of learning learning about hard work, because this is something I was talking to a friend of mine about a few days ago, that um when you are a child and you're still growing up, and then you're still young, you're still stupid, you're still foolish, you don't know any better because you haven't experienced much of life, right? So you things like the concept of hard work, being patient, they
mm,
don't really make sense to a young person.
mm,
That's why children just ask for stuff and they just want them to
mm.
happen just like that, because they don't understand about being patient and working hard for these things. And so you would understand when a child is like that. But I find it very baffling when an adult still doesn't understand the concept of having to work hard for the things that you want to
Yeah,
achieve, and they're not patient enough. So I, I'm really battling to understand that, because I'm
yeah.
supposed to have grown and matured and evolved as a person. So at this stage of my life, I should know that nothing comes easy. I should work hard and I should be patient and keep putting in the work. So why don't we get that as adults? Why isn't that something that we should understand by now? We should know by now.
You know what, there's the short answer to that is that some people just don't mature, some people just don't develop, some people just don't grow. It's like they miss a step, unfortunately. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mature emotionally and both spiritually, for me, you miss certain steps, because you know growing up, you realize that a lot of wisdom flows from spiritual maturity and emotional maturity. So if you haven't grown spiritually or emotionally, then you have no source of wisdom coming your way. So you lose that connection and that stream. Um, and I mean, growing is a choice. People don't want to make choices, in life, because and people don't want to be make choices because they don't want to be held accountable for anything. Making choices comes with accountability. You need to account. If you make the choice today to write a test tomorrow, if you fail, you'll have to account as to why you failed. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
making choices and accountability go hand in hand, and that is something that you learn as you grow. And people who don't learn that simply choose not to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you first got into the the industry, the legal industry,
Yeah.
what was that like? What was that like for you? I mean, it's one thing to be in varsity, to be reading, preparing for exams, assignments, and all of that. But now you're out of that. It's a different environment now, and you're meeting people who are in the industry. Some have been in there for many years, and you are a young woman getting into this thing, especially because it's so male dominated, and you get into this
Mm.
industry. What was it like for you?
So for me, getting into the industry, I remember thinking it's such a lonely industry, hey? That other lawyers were not willing to assist. They were not willing to assist, especially when you are a junior, because the the life of attorneys is that everybody's focusing on themselves. Everybody's focusing on what they need to do. So there is almost no one to guide you or to give you information or to teach you. I soon realized that I was on my own and I had to find my own direction, find my own 2 feet. I mean, law is so broad, but you will only know how broad it is when you have that information. You'll only know that just by having an LLB degree, it doesn't mean that you have to be an attorney. There are so many things you can be. But that information is not provided to us when we are at school. And when you get out of school, there is no one to mentor you, especially as a female. You know, you don't have female lawyers who are willing and ready to say, I will assist, I will help you, you know, as whatever you need, I am here. And that is such a big lack in our profession, because I'm telling you, there's so many children who are confused. There's so many children who don't know what to do. There are so many children who are studying law, but they don't even know the difference between an attorney and an advocate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting, and it's very sad because I mean,
Mm.
when I look into my life and the things that I wanted to do, and I was looking for a mentor, I was looking for someone to help me go through this industry in the industry I wanted to go into. Like I reached out to so many people, but to no avail, you know.
Yeah.
And
People
people
are
were
just not
there. I
available.
can't yeah, I can't really say why they did, whether they were busy or they did not want to. I have no idea. And the same thing that's happened with my sister as well. She wanted to venture out into so many things, and she needed people to
Mm.
help her to into these spaces, but no one was there. But
Yes.
she reached out to so many people, and I remember we sat down, and she was so frustrated and so stressed by it. And it's like, Ash, Abuta, I don't know what to do anymore. And I said to her, you know what? If all else fails, do it yourself.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, you know, and start doing things for yourself. Let's do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And along the way, maybe we'll meet people who are willing to help us or whatever, but we can't fold our arms and sit back and say, hey, no one wants to help us, you know. Let's just
Yes.
find a
Yes.
way to make it work for us and see how we can navigate this space. I guess that's what you've done for yourself when you realize that, you know what, I'm on my own here.
That's what I did, but I wouldn't want the generation after me to have to do the same thing, because what ends up happening is that you take the longer road as opposed to, you know, having taken a shorter road if you had had the help and the guidance, you know. And, you know, I'm reaching and I'm appealing to everyone who's watching this that, you know what, if you are in a space and you have information, let's share that information, you know. Let's share the knowledge, let's equip each other, you know. So it shouldn't be a question of, if you equip the next person, you feel like the person will take your position, or, you know, they will, you know, it's not a question of jealousy and competition. At the end of the day, we always need to have a succession plan, whether it be in a company or even in the world itself. We need to have a succession plan. There are people who will come after us, and we need to
Mhm.
desire for people to be greater than us. You know, it cannot, um, we cannot be worse and worse. We need to be better and better. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to desire for those that come after us, you know. So, in the space that I'm in, if I can help, if I can answer a question, and I know sometimes, I mean, sometimes I'm busy myself, but just take that time to answer a question. You might just answer a question that might change a person's life forever, you know, or give a person direction, where they could have gone a longer route. And, you know, because they have this information and they've spoken to you, they're able to do things efficiently.
Mm. So I guess based on what you're saying, it's kind of okay. Is it difficult to break into your industry because people are not willing to be of assistance to make it easier for you, or the industry itself is just difficult to break into?
Okay. Can you see my face?
Yeah.
So I'll give you, so for the longest time, I was an attorney specializing in third party litigation, which is the road accident fund. Um, and I mean, I had a desire to do commercial litigation. And
Mhm.
I mean, till this day, I'm still trying to find a way to penetrate that field, because, you know, it's a field saturated by, you know, people of a different color to myself, and it's not easy as a black female or a black attorney to penetrate, um feels like commercial, feels like conveyancing, fields that are actually making the money. it's not easy. You have to wait to have 10 years experience or 15 years experience, just to get into those fields. But we just need to have a desire to want to change the narrative for the next black child, is what I'm saying. Because what I've realized is that um, black female people who are on top, or even males, they're not always willing. It's almost as if, hey guys, now I've arrived here and I just need to protect where I am. I can't bring you up with me. Um, and I'm saying we need to just change.
Okay, I'm losing you there. You're cutting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hi, Kwena, can you hear me? I'm
Yes, I
losing
can
you.
hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, cool. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. All right, like the transition, the transition from being an employee to being an employer. Tell me about that. How difficult is it? How easy is it? Is it frightening? Was it an easy choice for you to say, I want to move into this space. I don't want to do this anymore. What was that like, that transition of crossing that river?
So lucky for me, and lucky for people in my space and in my career, you are kind of like prepared to be a boss, because I mean, being an attorney or an advocate, it's a space where you are prepared to work by yourself. But serving articles helps you to serve and get that employee experience and working with other people. But I think the ultimate goal for any attorney or any advocate is to basically move into that space where you have your own firm. In fact, that's what we should all have at the back of our minds. That's what I had in the back of my minds, and everywhere
Mm-hmm.
that I had worked was just for purposes of getting experience and serving, because at the end of the day you need to start somewhere, and being of service to other people who have firms
Mm-hmm.
was the best way I could get working experience, working in a team. So for me, it wasn't even learning the work. It's just learning the dynamics, of an um, employment kind of situation, because it's important to have that experience before you become your own boss. How will you govern people if you've never been governed yourself? So it was important for me to get that experience. And when I made the decision to jump, I was almost pushed into that decision, to say it's time, but it's a push that I needed, to say, I mean, I've gotten all the experience. How much more experience do I need to get? And I mean, it's not like I had done every single case in the book or whatever the case is, but at the end of the day, there are some things that you just need to throw yourself in a pool and you sink or swim, and that's exactly what I did, because there's no formula, to running a business, or you just literally just need to take that leap of faith, which is exactly what I did. I took that leap of faith. And I mean, taking a leap of faith, you'll always have that anxiety and that fear, but you just take that leap of faith and hope for the best, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, it's good. And like, um, being in this type of business, in this line of business, what are some of the challenges that you face as a woman and as a black woman? What are the challenges that you face in your
um so I think it's not even in my field. I think it's most fields in general, is that
business?
women are easy to exploit, in a sense that um so the way that our male counterparts deal in with women is not the same way they deal with a man, you know. When they're dealing with a woman, they can have inappropriate expectations, you know. Um, and they have that with you just because you're a woman. So you're almost not seen as a professional, or even, you know, before the meeting starts, you don't have that professional voice just because you're a woman. It's almost as your voice is silent, you know. You can, it's almost as if you can never speak at the same intellectual level just because you're a woman, you know. It's almost as if
Yeah.
you don't have a good idea just because you're a woman. So it's almost like we always have to work twice as hard just to prove ourselves, to say, I'm in the room and I deserve to be in the room and hear me out. Here I am, you know. And
Mhm.
I'm not here because I'm beautiful. I'm here because I went to school. I got the same degree that you got, and I actually have intellectual capacity just like you, or maybe even better, who knows? But you have to, you know, make that impression all the time. So you always have that burden to prove yourself.
Which actually leads me to my next question. Um, do you find that there's people who, like clients, who choose a law firm to assist them in whatever legal assistance they need on the basis of, is this a male-run firm or is it a female-run firm? And they decide
Yes,
that, you know what, this is a female and it's a question of competence. Is she competent
yes.
enough? Is she intelligent enough to do the job?
Is she strong
They can.
enough? You know, because people think that, you know, when you're a lawyer, you need to be vicious, you need to be, guys, it's not even true. Like, can you see this face? I'm like the sweetest person, at least I think so. And maybe, you know, people could disagree. But
Oh yeah, she is.
uh
People, she is the sweetest. Take it from me. I know.
but it's not about you know, it's not about being the strongest or the, you know, at the end of the day, when you have a case, you present facts before a magistrate or a judge or whoever. And sometimes, not even sometimes, in fact, negotiation skills are everything in our industry. Because I mean, especially, you know, in the direction that we are taking, the
Hmm.
courts don't want to be filled with people fighting. They want to avoid people, you know, filling up the courts. So it's important for you to have an attorney who will be able to approach your matter in the best way, you know, to assist you in reaching an agreement with the other party. So, you know, and sometimes, you know, you get those people who just want to play nasty, you know, for the sake of playing nasty, just so that they can prove that, you know, but now
Hmm.
they, yeah, but it's not about that.
Yeah. So sorry.
No, it's okay.
There you go. So before, I want you to tell me a little bit about more about your company, because people have to know what exactly you do in your company and so on, right?
Yeah.
There's this mis there's this, I don't know if I should call it a myth or misconception, that people that are in the legal industry, basically the lawyer baratamaka. Lawyers are liars. So I don't know if that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I should call it a myth or a misconception or what. Please clear that one for me,
It's
so
actually,
that
it's
people know.
actually,
But is it really true, or it just depends in which space as an attorney or an advocate you're operating? What is it exactly?
you know, so I personally, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I think that myth, and it's definitely a myth without a doubt. I think it comes from, it's actually a misconception, and it comes from, you know, that attorney and client privilege, and this happens mostly in criminal cases where
Hmm.
the client has maybe, I'll give an example, killed a person, and it's only him and the attorney who know about it. And
Hmm.
it's not the attorney's, because of the client and attorney privilege. the attorney has a right to keep that information between him and his client. So he
Mm-hmm.
omits to tell that information to the court in order to protect his client. And this is why people think attorneys, they lie or whatever the case is. But it's just a misconception. I mean, people who there are some people who don't even do criminal law, for heaven's sake. I mean, there are some attorneys who are drafting contracts, who are dealing with everything else except criminal law. And this is why I'm saying that the law is so broad. I mean, there's a lot you can be with an LLB degree except for a criminal attorney or doing third party litigation. You can become an in-house attorney where you are just basically doing administration for companies. There's so much that you can become.
Do you think that, based on what you're saying, do you think that people understand law, at least the basic fundamentals of law and how things work and operate? Maybe that's what's leading to people thinking, having this concept that lawyers or attorneys are liars. Do you think it's because of lack of understanding of what law is
Yeah, it's
and how
it's definitely not a lack of understanding, a lack of information. So maybe they know
yeah.
law from only a specific angle as opposed to, what the law is, and how the law caters to different aspects. I mean, there's estate law, there is commercial law, I mean, everything I think in the world has got something legal or is governed by the law. So the law is such a big part of our lives. And there are certain ways you can apply the law. So people just maybe know a certain way as opposed to knowing the other fields. So it's more a lack of information than it is a lack of understanding.
Okay. So what does your company do? Just to elaborate, because
So
I've seen a few, like, just what you guys do, but just to elaborate on a few of those things, what do you guys exactly do?
So Madinginye Incorporated is basically a firm that um, we are we I'm looking for the word now. We we cater to our clients' needs. And I'm saying we cater to our clients' needs because we address any issue, any legal issue that our client may have. And when I came up with the concept of the firm, it was to build relationship with my clients. And whenever a client has an issue, maybe they're getting married, they're buying a house, I wanted to be a part of whatever legal issue that they have in order to build lifelong relationships with my client. And this is why, I mean, I have a master's in estates, and people often ask me, what do you specialize in? And my answer to that is always, I have shied away from specializing because we live in an ever-changing environment. So I don't want to focus on a specific thing. I would rather cater to what my clients need, and whatever I don't feel confident in, I will then refer to other people to say, no, because I'm not a conveyancer, do the conveyancing for my client. But at the end of the day is to have lifelong relationship with our clients. So we do a little bit of everything. RAF, estates, whatever you need, it's either I can do it or I will refer. That is how we generally operate.
So any legal assistance whatsoever, you guys
Yes,
are in that space. And
we are in
if
that
people
space.
want any kind of that legal assistance, they can come to you guys. And if it's something
Yes,
that you don't have in-depth knowledge in, you can always refer them and say, hey.
yes. Yes, that's exactly what we do. And even if you can see our online platforms, we are on Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, we are on LinkedIn as well. If you can see our pages, they speak into all aspects of law. They don't focus on just one particular aspect. So I just choose a certain topic for the month and I say, this is what I want to speak into. And then what we do with the YouTube channel is that at the end of the month, I will then do a video to inform and educate people in depth about that specific topic. So we also believe in educating because, people will only need your service if they know about your service and if they know what your service is about. So the more we teach people about, for instance, we've had a topic about wills. If you can teach them about how do you claim at the road accident fund, then they will know when that, if they're in an accident, or if, they will think, oh, this is what we need to do. And then, because they have that information, then your service becomes relevant to their need. So we also believe in informing and educating people, and this is why we have the online platforms. And if you follow, you will see that we try and at least give you, even if it's not in-depth knowledge, but just so that you know what, different aspects of the law talk into.
Yeah. What do you think? Why the reluctancy in people when it comes to legal matters? I mean, people find themselves in such messy situations that they could have otherwise avoided had they consulted and gotten legal assistance. Why the reluctancy in people when it comes to such
I think
things?
I think people are afraid, and they're afraid because they are not informed, because um litigation is a scary thing, but if you can put things in place, you then avoid litigation. But it's also because, where we come from as a people, we don't have the information. And this is why it's so important. And people think because there's there's internet and social media, people are informed. You'll be surprised how little people know. And we still need to do, there's still a lot of groundwork in terms of informing people about just minor things. If you can have a will in place, guys, you won't have to deal with if ever you die, your children won't be going up and down. Things will be written down direct to the point.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an anti-nuptial contract, I don't want to have the conversation about in community, out of community, but if you have an anti-nuptial contract, the day you decide to leave someone, you just take your bag and you bounce, because you know that it's all sorted out. And these are the issues that we have, divorce, death, then there'll be no litigation. There'll be no need to litigate because everything is done properly at the beginning. And this is what I encourage people, that, make sure that you have those little things in place to avoid a big troublesome situation. And people can only do that if they have the information.
I guess maybe people have this phobia when it comes to legal matters, and and they just have this idea that it's a long, tedious, hard process, and it's only going to make their lives more complicated and more harder, only to find that this only simplifies their lives, really.
It really does. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the lack of information, and
Hmm.
also I don't know if I should say, people are very lazy, man, to find information and to know
Yeah.
things. I think is that
And
element of laziness.
yeah, that's true. And guys, truth is, black people are becoming wealthier, and with wealth comes responsibility, and we just need to be responsible in terms of, how we leave our assets, the legacy that we leave. And we also need to not live for just today, but live for the future, and think about those that come after us. It's so important to leave a legacy. You can't just think for yourself and make money for now and not have the proper elements in place to channel that money or to protect their trust, so let's be informed and do the right things. We can't remain afraid, you know. We really need to change our mentality where things like these are concerned. And yeah, I encourage people to just change their thinking.
That's true. That's true. So, what advice can you give to those people? I mean, like what you were saying earlier on about, so many young people who are studying law and or who want to study law, and they're just not aware that there is so much to it. And if they have that information, they would be able to make well-informed decision as to what exactly they want to do in this industry. Because as you said, it's very broad. So what advice would you give them, what they can do in order for them to be able to have access to that, to at least try and make things a little bit easier for them?
So I would say they should go and read, but I know that sometimes reading is not practical in a sense that, you can read something, but it's only in theory. It's only when you have spoken to someone who can break it down for you and say, actually, this is what it means to be an attorney. This is what it means to be an advocate. This is what it means to be an in-house attorney. This is, you know what I mean? So sometimes you can read, but when you don't have the practicality of it, it won't make sense to you. So yes, I will say read, but that's just the primary part of it. I encourage people to continue um, communicating with people that are in the profession, that have gone ahead of them, and there are always people who know better than you do, and it's important to be humble and to humble yourself and sometimes play dumb, actually, just knowing that this is what I need to get, because people will, but backtrauma and all of those things, but as long as you get what you want from them in terms of the information, the experience, the guidance, then just do what needs to be done. Communicate with people that are ahead of you, communicate and talk to people that have gone before you in the profession. There is no greater teacher than experience, and those with experience will teach you so much more than what a book and the internet can teach you.
So, just one more question. What is the end game for you? What is the end game? What is, I always ask this to my guests, that when you look into the future, what do you see for yourself, for your company, and for you to get to that stage where you feel like, you know what, I think I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in this. I think I've arrived. Although not that you're gonna stop there, but for you to know that, you know what, I think I've done it. I've done. What would that be like for you?
um there is no end game, because the desire is to build something that will outlive me. The desire is to build something that Zoe and Zion and Zephaniah will be able to carry. The desire is to um, build something that my daughters don't have to be lawyers for it to continue, can be they want to be and still pay people to continue with the firm, you know. Um, that's the bigger picture, but not the end game. So the desire is to pass on the baton to the generation to come.
Right, right. No, that's awesome stuff. You know what? It's been a great pleasure chatting to you. When it's been a real pleasure. And you said that you are available on which platforms? On Facebook, on Instagram,
Facebook,
and LinkedIn.
Instagram, LinkedIn, those that are doing law and they want advice. I may take long to respond, but I definitely will respond to your questions. I'm open. I, 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 I mean, I believe in young girls. I love to be an older sister, so take advantage. And yeah, hit me up and we'll definitely respond.
That's awesome stuff, guys. Like to everybody that is listening and to everybody that's going to watch this in the future, I urge you to get in contact with this phenomenal woman, very smart woman who's going to be willing to help you. And we should not be afraid to get help, guys. Legal assistance is very important. We always engage ourselves in things that are just not so beneficial to us, but there are things that can really benefit us, and it can be very simple things that we take for granted, but tomorrow they can benefit us in a great way. So get in contact with Kwena Mageza on her personal account, or you can go to a Facebook business Facebook account, Madinginye Incorporated. You can just hit her up, and then whatever legal assistance you need, she will be able to assist you. So thank you so much, Kwena. I appreciate your time. It was really a nice conversation. I hope that people learned a lot from this. I certainly
Yeah.
got a little bit deeper into your space and see what was really happening there, you know.
Yeah,
So I'm
true.
so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, when it comes to these things, there's so much people can say, there's so much that we can talk about, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but I'm
Yeah,
glad that
yeah.
we're able to cover just fundamental things that people can
Yes.
take away from this and be able to learn from, because the whole idea is for people to go home and be like, you know what, that that was something. That was something.
Yeah,
So
that was for me.
yeah, so thank you so much. And please say hi to your husband and the kids for me.
I will, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. I had the time of my life. These are the kind of things I personally enjoy. Yeah, so I hope everybody who's watching got something out of it, at least the Rhema word. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, right? So
You too.
nice.
Bye.
Sharp.